I'm Heather Dalton. I chose to study American Presbyterianism and its Scottish origins. My central research question is, how did American Presbyterianism retain its deep Scottish theological roots while adapting its governance to fit the religious pluralism and democratic ideals of early America between 1700 and 1830? This question matters because it sheds light not only on Presbyterian history, but on the broader themes of how religious communities negotiate continuity and change in dynamic social settings. To understand American Presbyterianism, we must start with its Scottish foundations. Rooted in the Reformation, the tradition was shaped by John Knox and grounded in Calvinist theory. Central to this theology is the doctrine of divine sovereignty, God's rule over all things, and covenant theology, which views believers as bound in a solemn agreement with God. Scottish Presbyterians upheld a strong confessional identity, particularly through the Westminster Confession of Faith, which ministers had to affirm to ensure doctrinal clarity. They also developed the distinctive system of church governance, a graded system including a local session, presbytery, synod, and a national general assembly that balanced authority and accountability, preventing clerical domination. When Presbyterianism came to the American colonies, Scottish and Ulster immigrants brought these theological and governance frameworks. The first American presbytery was established in Philadelphia in 1706, followed by synods as the church sought to in a vastly different religious landscape. Unlike Scotland, the American church had no state backing and faced a vibrant religious marketplace full of diverse denominations and ideals. This reality forced the church to rely more on consensus and moral authority than legal enforcement. A key moment was the Adopting Act of 1729, which required ministers to subscribe only to the essential parts of the Westminster Confession, allowing some flexibility to navigate pluralistic context. The American colonies were marked by remarkable religious diversity. This pluralism combined with Enlightenment principles, religious tolerance, and political ideas of liberty and self-governance created pressures that shaped Presbyterian polity. The church governance evolved from a centralized hierarchical model to a more decentralized representative system, reflecting the democratic spirit of the new republic. Elders elected by the congregation represented them at presbyteries and synods, while the General Assembly became more of a deliberative body than a top-down authority. This shift aligned with church governance and American political ideals of participation and local control. The First and Second Great Awakenings further complicated governance. Revivalism emphasized personal conversion, emotional preaching, and ministry, challenging traditional ministerial authority and educational requirements. The church divided between the new side revivalist and the old side traditionalist during the First Awakening, but reunited in 1758 through compromise. Revivalism increased lay involvement and pushed the church to innovate with voluntary societies and mission, while frontier expansion forced presbyteries to exercise greater autonomy. Despite these institutional changes, American Presbyterianism remained firmly committed to the theological core: election, grace, covenant theology, and confessional standards. The Westminster Confession continued to serve as an anchor even as adaptations were made. Theological debates like the old side, new side, and later the old side, old school, new school controversies were less signs of division and more signs of refined and reaffirmed its beliefs. Leaders like Charles Hodge would work tirelessly to define orthodoxy amid emerging liberal and revisionist pressures. In conclusion, American Presbyterianism between 1700 and 1830 was neither a mere transplant nor a complete reinvention. Instead, it was a dynamic, negotiated evolution. It balanced theological fidelity to its Scottish Reformation roots with flexible governance adapted to religious pluralism, democratic ideals, and frontier realities. This story reveals how religious traditions can remain rooted to core beliefs while innovating institutionally to the new cultural and political challenges. It also raises further questions. How did these early adaptations influence later Presbyterianism? And how might other denominations have experienced similar tensions between tradition and change? Thank you.